Welcome back to Inspirational Living. I'm your host, Shunda Jenkins, and today I have a special guest. Her name is Malini Dasi, and she's going to be sharing a little bit about herself. And so let's get into it. Hey, I'm glad to finally have you on my show.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm really excited to be here. Yeah, it's for me to come in your show. It's like a connection with Greenville, and it's really important. It's a connection now I've been wanted to have with the people of Greenville, and to be with you it's an honor. Yeah, very much.
Oh, it's an honor to be with you. You guys, Malini has the most beautiful aura, and I want her to talk about her name because we had a discussion about it. So tell everybody like what your name means and how to pronounce it so that they understand why they need to pronounce it that way.
Okay, thank you. So my name is Malini Dasi, and Malini means a garland of flower. That's what it is. It's a garland, a mala. You know, some people use mala to chant on mantra, or mala around the neck. So Malini is a garland of flower. And I received that name about 34 years ago when I gave my vow of initiation. At that time, I gave a vow that for the rest of my life, and I was in my 20s at that time.
Oh, wow.
For the rest of my life, I will do a mantra meditation at least 2 hours a day. And I will also not eat any animals, not eat meat, that I will not gamble, that I will stay away from illicit sexual activities that are not really divine activities. And I refrain from any type of intoxication. So in my 20s, I received initiation, and that initiation, I made that vow, and I kept that vow for the last 34 years. And it's been a very purifying life to live my life according to the commitment I made through my spiritual practice. And so I received the name Malini Dasi. Devi means goddess, and all women are goddess. And Dasi means servant, as our constitutional position is to serve. Earlier we were speaking with Shunda. We're like, yes, we are not the controller. We are not the controller. And if we are thinking we are the controller, life is going to make sure we understand that we are not. We are not in control, even where we try. I have a nice anecdote about that, because of course, I make those vows, and already it's like a clean life, no intoxication. You know, I don't drink coffee, I don't smoke, and I'm vegetarian diet, and I'm a little bit health freak. You know, I'm a health freak. I'm researching about natural health, Ayurveda, Chinese medicine. I know about herbs. I know about supplements. I know about so many modalities of natural medicine. So I lived my life thinking that I could control my health. I could control my health, and through my habits, what I eat, the supplements. And really, I had an anti-cancer lifestyle, not lifestyle completely, but at least my diet, the supplement I was taking, there is no way a person like me will have cancer. In fact, my daughter, who is a nurse, one day she told me, oh, I was not well. And she said, Mom, maybe you have cancer. And I responded to her straightforwardly. I said, there's no way, I'm never going to have cancer.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
And so we all have a tendency like that to think we are in control. I'm going to make millions of dollars. I'm going to be popular or famous or whatever. We are in illusion that we are in control of our destiny, when in fact our destiny is just unfolding. It's called the law of karma. So anyway, Like I learned my lesson. And there is a story in a Veda, in a Srimad Bhagavatam. It's the Veda means knowledge. And that's the knowledge, the Veda descend. It's knowledge that descend at the dawn of creation. At the dawn of creation, at the beginning of creation, the Veda are given and they are like a manual for human being. And if we follow the Vedas, we know how to live. In the Vedas, there is all kind of science. There is atomic science in the Veda. There is science of fighting. There is, of course, everybody know Ayurveda, the medicine, and there is Kama Sutra. There is everything. It's like a blueprint, like a manual for human being. Like when we buy something like a food processor, there is a manual. And so if we want to optimize using the food processor, we read the manual. So if we want to optimize human life, we read the Veda. Anyway, there is, I read every day directly from Vedic literature, and there is the cream of the Veda. It's called the Srimad Bhagavatam, and it's stories, many stories. And there is a story there of a demon. His name is Hiranyakashipu. Hiranya means gold, and Kashipu means cushion. So he likes cushions and he likes gold. Anyway, he was thinking that he did so much austerity and yoga and sacrifice that he could control the universe. And he was thinking that he could be immortal, because we all want immortality. And that's a funny story, because I can see that in myself wanted to kind of jinx the system that I'm not going to have cancer. There was something like proud about that, like something not humble and being like, okay, whatever happened. And so Hiranyakashipu was very funny, because he did a lot of austerity and the universe was trembling. So the creator of the universe, his name is Lord Brahma. Brahma came and he said, "What's up?" He said, you're making a lot of trouble around, so let me know what you want. And he said, "I want immortality." And Lord Brahma said, "Well, I cannot give you that because I'm not immortal myself." And so Hiranyakashipu was thinking he was very, very clever and he could jinx the system. Like me, he was thinking I could jinx the system. So he said, "I don't want you. Okay, so you cannot give me immortality. So can you give me that I don't die during the day or the night?" Lord Brahma said, "Granted." Can you give me that I don't die on the ground or in the sky?" And Lord Brahma said, "Granted." "Can you tell me that I don't die outside of the house or inside the house?" Lord Brahma said, "Granted." So you get it like that. He created a situation that he felt, because he was superiorly intelligent, that now I'm immortal. And he said, "Can you grant me that I'm not killed by a beast or a human being?" And so it was granted. And then that demon, he was torturing his son, and his son was a very devoted. He was a devotee of God. He was such a saintly, pure person, but his father couldn't stand it, because his father wanted to be worshipped. He wanted to be seen by his son as like the supreme controller of the universe. So he couldn't stand that her son was not accepting him that way. He was saying, "No, there is a superior force, superior than you, Dad." And so he got really angry with his son. And so the supreme controller came, and he came in the form of a half lion and half man. He came not during the day, not during the night. He came on the doorstep, and then that's how the demon got killed. So we cannot jinx the systems. That's the morality of that story. All that to tell you about my name.
So you said that when she said that you might have cancer, and you said that basically there's no way I can have cancer.
No, of course.
What happened next? Like, when do you actually discover that you had cancer? And
when did I discover? So that period I had COVID. So it was in 2020, I got COVID, and I got long COVID. I was sick for 6 months.
Okay.
But because I got sick really early on, there was no testing, and testing was very complicated at the beginning of COVID, very complicated. It was not, after it became very easy, but those months early, like it was April 2020, there was no test. So I was sick and I got tested maybe 3 weeks after the first symptoms. So I only tested negative.
Okay.
But I had an elephant sitting on my chest and I was on oxygen. You know, I found ways to get oxygen. I knew I didn't want to go to the hospital. I didn't trust that they knew how to heal that disease. I was scared. I was thinking the doctor were killing people. Sorry about that. But at the very beginning, they made a lot of mistakes that they recognized later on. So I was one of the first, wave of people. And I was sick. I was quite sick for a good 6 months. I was weak. I couldn't breathe. And my daughter was just adamant that I don't have COVID. She said, you have cancer. And so, I knew I had COVID, and I recovered from COVID. And a month and a half later, that's when I started to get pain. And the pain, it took about 3 months. I was misdiagnosed a few times, but it took about 3 months to kind of figure out what it was. So I was diagnosed with cancer in late February of 2021. Yes. Yeah. And it was a shock. It was a shock. It was scary. It was a shock. It was, and the cancer I was in pain all the time. And I continued to be in pain, and sometimes really, really a lot of pain for another month and a half. And it was a very challenging period. I felt after I understood that no natural treatment, I made research for natural treatment, and everything I was reading about natural treatment, it's really funny. Everything I was reading about natural treatment, it was my lifestyle.
Oh,
vegan, and I was doing juicing. Everything I read that was like, oh, that's what you do to cure your cancer. Oh, that's what I'm doing already for 20 years.
Wow. So
I understood that would not work for me. I couldn't believe that, if I do what I've been doing is going to change. If you do the same thing, it doesn't change.
Yeah.
And also, because of my practice and my lifestyle that's really dedicated to spiritual life and listening to God and surrendering to God, I often get guidance within me that I don't always understand. And the guidance doesn't always make sense with even my value system.
Yeah.
However, I got very clear guidance to go to the Western way. And that also was again, it was very humbling because I didn't even have insurance at the time, because that's how much I was completely staying away from the Western medicine.
Wow.
I was a little bit extreme that it was something that wasn't part of my lifestyle.
Yeah.
And so I understood. And so it was shocking to receive kind of intuition, guidance, whatever you want to call it, that I'm supposed to go the Western way. And then magically, the new president of the United States opened the marketplace, and I was able to get insurance and get into the system. And then I received a combo, and which is really heavy combo of chemo and radiation. They started chemo and radiation the same day. And the treatment I got is very violent. So I had a pump. I was carrying a pump that was constantly putting in a port chemo. And my body, because my body was so clean, I was doing cleansing every month, every year, and my body was so clean. To have all of a sudden that level of poison in my system really shook me. It shook me it was really hellish. I got burned. I got my brain. I got like I was autistic. I couldn't. Anything was overstimulating. I was really in hell. And what's amazing, I will say, the most amazing thing during that period, I couldn't eat, I couldn't drink. Everything was, my body wanted to die. My body didn't want to eat or drink or move. So basically, my body was in a dying mode.
Oh.
But what was amazing is that I did my 2 hours of meditation every day.
Oh, wow.
During that hell. And it wasn't like willpower. It wasn't like pushing through. It was just grace.
Yeah.
It was just grace and I had moments where all the pain, all the hell, everything was going away. And I was in complete cloud of stillness. I remember those moments. And then the heaviness will come back. So that's when it's happened, and when I figured it out, and I know it was part of my journey. I know for the last 2 years, I felt in my heart something is coming heavy. I don't know what it is, but something is coming heavy. But also, according to our spiritual desire, there is we have limitation how much work we can do. In Christian theology, it's kind of everything is grace. And also theology, everything is my work. It's kind of, walk as if everything depends on you and pray as if everything depends on God. It's a combination of the two. We want to do what's belong to us, work, internal work, self-realization work that belong to us. And at the same time, we want to pray as if everything depends on the Lord. And I believe that I have high spiritual desire. I really want spiritual life. And I believe that there was something in my heart that regardless how much work I was doing on myself, constantly, like introspection and personal growth, and like there was something that I couldn't get to, that this heavy situation of the cancer and cancer treatment took away. So it was really a blessing. Like if I look at the cancer and that period, the only emotion I have is gratitude. I feel so grateful. So when I came out of it, I think so I was in treatment in April, and then I stopped the treatment, even though it wasn't finished. I told the doctor, enough, I'm done. And it was again, strong. It was strong. All my friends were saying, "Why are you crazy?" His doctor was saying, "Why are you crazy?" And inside, I knew. I was very calm. No, I'm stopping. And I was very calm. And so I stopped. And within a few weeks, I felt, it's hard to describe. It's so beautiful that it's really hard to describe. But I felt like I received a shower of love. Not a love that human beings give between each other. Nothing like that. A love that was so deep and so pure. A love that come and say, I know you at the core of your being. And I experienced that for a few months. And I felt it was such a gift. Such a gift.
Yeah. That sounds amazing. Like to be able to take that experience and gain gratitude from that, like how do you teach someone that is like going through something, say, a lot of people and I'll just gonna speak to majority of the population, they go through the day-to-day things of they got to go to work, someone might cut them off on the road, or situations with work happen, or relationships, and they just feel like they just going through so much. And you're going through something from your health, and you like, I was doing the stuff to take care of my body. When I was researching what to do when I got it, it was telling me to do everything I was already doing. And to be able to go through that and continue to do your meditation, how do you teach someone else that how to stay in gratitude, or even to stay above the water when they feel like they're drowning?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, yeah, like, I'm a missionary at heart, and I want to serve the world. But it's not up to me. But I do have that yearning inside of me to really serve the world, to support humankind, to be fulfilled and satisfied. And the most painful thing for me to see is not pain. It's pain that is in vain.
And explain
I
that
can
to
deal
me.
with pain, and that's what I've done most of my life. I fast for the last 20 years. I have facilitated thousands of individuals to connect with that part of themselves that nothing can touch, the part of themselves that cannot be cut, that cannot be that cannot suffer, that part of themselves that's immovable, eternal, full of bliss, full of knowledge. So that's what I've done the last 20 years intensively. I travel the world, and I do also individual work. And so, yeah, to see people suffering with no, in vain, I say in vain, because our suffering is there to help us. Every suffering is a gift. I sometimes give an analogy. Let's say there is a fire in front of me, and I put my hand in a fire and experience burn. It burned my finger. And I can curse at the burn, or I can say, thank you, burn. Because if that burn wasn't there, what will happen? I will lose my hand. I will lose my hand. My hand will be completely, calcified, or coming to, become like cut off my body, and I will not feel anything, and I will not have a hand to use anymore. So the sufferings that come with the burn is a signal, take your hand out. Yeah. And so it's a blessing. And we want to be grateful for the sensation of burning. So similarly, when we live life, there is things that are triggering us, things that brings pain. There are painful things like disease, war. I'm in contact with people from Ukraine who, they suffer a lot. It's like suffering that's almost inconceivable. One day you're in a nice city like Greenville, and you walk your dog, or you're with your children, you go to the park, and the same city the next day can be bombed and disappear. And that's how it was in Ukraine. Ukrainians are living like us, and that's and at the same time, even so it's so intense, inconceivable, so inhuman situation, still there is a way to be with people, to really meet there where they are at. Like it's said that a devotee of the Lord, I will use Sanskrit words, is paradukha, that if we are able to feel the pain of others and people feel receiving their pain, they learn to grow from their pain too. So by receiving people. So the first thing is, usually people don't care what we know until they know that we care. So the first thing when we are in contact with people who suffer is to show empathy. Like, I really understand. It was very painful for you. It's so scary what's happened to you. And when the soul is received, it expands. And our consciousness expand, our awareness expand, and the spirit expand. Ananda Buddhivardhanan, the nature of spirit is to constantly expand. So through our life is always a blessing.
Mm.
Life is benevolent and only benevolent because God is benevolent and only benevolent. And it doesn't look benevolent from the platform of duality.
Yes.
Right and wrong, black, right, or like that. But
Mhm.
if we step out of the platform of duality, then we are in a realm of expansion, self-realization, seeing everything as a gift.
Mm.
However, it's not something that can happen artificially. For
Yes.
people to receive that gift, like they first need to be received in their pain.
Mm.
And from that reception, from being receiving their pain, then there is expansion. Did I
Mm.
respond to your question?
Yes. Do you think a lot of those feelings have something to do with control? Like,
Control, yeah, completely. It's all about control, not accepting that there is a supreme controller. When we have a hurricane passing over, we are not going to control it. No matter what it is, we are not going to control it. Obviously, we are not in control. So as soon as we are trying to control, we are controlled by what we are trying to control.
mm.
What we are trying to control is controlling us. So
Mm.
yes, it all have to do to be like thinking that we are the controller, thinking that we are powerful, when in fact, we don't even know what's happened for her to digest our food.
Mm.
We don't know what next will come. And like this body have more potential for suffering than happiness, really. The physical body, because we are not this body, we are spirit soul. We are spirit soul. Like Teilhard de Chardin is a Christian philosopher, a French Christian philosopher. He says that we are not human being having spiritual experience. He said we are spiritual being having a human experience.
Mm.
So if we are spiritual being having a human experience, in that human experience, everything is benevolent. Everything is there to teach us.
Mm.
And to come to that place of really understanding that I'm a spirit soul and I have that human experience. And within that human experience, everything has the capacity to move me forward. And my cancer is the best thing that's happened to me the last at least 10 years, and probably more.
Mm. So this year, wow, this year I lost 2 people. So how do you help someone that can find or try to figure out like what that experience is teaching now? Like I read, Impairments last year, and I think that was also preparing me for what happened this year. And so someone who say, I lost somebody, like I can't deal with this, like, how do I continue to find gratitude if I just lost someone close to me?
Yeah. And, it's not an artificial process. It is a process, it's not an event.
Mm-hmm.
So that process, part of it is a grieving process, to really have the person and you, like to be understood, to be received with your pain, to be cradled in your pain, and to be able to emote and allow to experience your experience. As long as we resist, whatever we resist persists. So to experience the grief, to experience the sadness, to experience the anger that accompanies that. I do a lot of grieving coaching. And what's interesting is that the first layer of emotion that prevents the grieving is guilt. There is somewhere, I always find guilt. When people are really clean with the people who left their body, like the souls that departed, it's a lot easier to grieve. But most of us, we are not like that. Maybe we'd had some kind of arguments. Maybe we had we didn't, like if someone very dear, but then we were frustrated with that person because they had shortcoming or something. And then they leave, and then all that will come, the times that I lost, or, how did I think so negatively about that person, all those things. So it's a layer that need to be taken care of. And then beneath that, usually there is anger, and then there is so many emotions. And those emotions need to be experienced. It's like we are spiritual having a human experience. We cannot jump over. We cannot shortcut. We don't need to shortcut. We need to experience. I did experience hell during the chemo and radiation. I'm not saying I was joyful or anything. I was in hell. There was no doubt I was in hell. And I was thinking, if there is hell, I cannot imagine it's worse than that. That's what I was thinking. I cannot imagine that hell is worse than that. It's not like I was in heaven. I was in hell. So we are spiritual having a human experience. We don't want to skip it. We need to experience it. We need to experience it, experiencing all the layers of emotion. And there is usually when we lose someone, when someone departs that's very dear to us, there is many layers. I remember once there was a friend, a long-term friend. Her husband killed himself in his room. She was outside hanging the laundry. She was outside. She heard the gun. She came in. She enters the room. There was brain cell all over. So that it's quite traumatic. And she was so traumatized that nothing happened to her. And then the community around her, they were so traumatized that they didn't really want to deal with it. That's what people do. When someone have really something difficult going on in their life, we want to cheer them up. We want to reassure them. We want to change their mind. We want to tell them, like, it's okay. No, you're going to be okay. Don't worry, you're going to be okay. But that's not the truth. So I took that friend and we went to the spring. I took her in nature and I started to speak with her. And then the first thing that came is anger. And then she cried, and then she felt the guilt and all that. And all of a sudden it was finally coming out. And it was like 2 weeks later. And it was all coming out because she had bottled it up because there was no space. There was no space and nobody wanted to be with her. And so it's about having the courage to jump in with people in their darkness and to hold their hands there, not trying to pull them out, just be with them there in the darkness. And while having our feet on the ground. I'm with you in a well, and then my feet is on the ground. And I'm going to be with you. And I'm going to be fully, because as long as we are around people who suffer like that, and I don't want to suffer, we're scared of it. Most people are scared of other people's trauma. Yeah. And as long as we are scared, we are not able to make a space for others. So it's about having the courage to dive with them, to be with them, to see the world from their perspective, to experience their experience. And from that, release happen. And when release happen, the spirit, Ananda Buddhivananam, expand. And then little by little, the person step out. And I know that friend, that happened about, I will say 12 years ago. And recently I saw that friend, and she said, she still remembers that conversation starting her healing. Before that, there was no healing possible. As long as it was like, you will be okay. I'm here, I'm your friend, I'm here. Let's go to the movie, let's do something else. Let's not speak about it. That doesn't. But then as people feel receive, as people feel understood, as people feel like someone is with me, and that spirit expands, then little by little alternate perspective comes and see, I can see this is part of my journey. I can see how it really match something in me that wanted more, and come into that place of gratitude.
Mm.
And again, it's not an artificial process. It's not something that can be artificially imposed on someone.
Mm-hmm. You got to let them go through that whole process. And because I think that's really what happens is like, you know, people naturally go into that, oh, it's going to be okay. But so it's like, if you're getting these things, then it's not allowing you to really think like, what I'm experiencing? Should I be feeling angry? Should I be feeling sad?
Exactly.
And you start to question, should you be feeling this way? And to me, I feel like then that makes it even worse. So then you're suffering 2 times.
Mm-hmm.
You're suffering from the loss, and now you're suffering because now you're questioning, should you have these feelings?
Yeah. And then instead of having your back and being strong with yourself and feeling strong in yourself, then you're eating up at your self-worth. So not only you have, you know, you lost someone or some trauma is happening that's very difficult to face, but because of the second guessing, because of not acknowledging what's really there or judging oneself, then there is an additional pain of not feeling good about myself.
Yeah.
And not trusting my process.
Mm.
So by having someone around and say, go, your process is perfect. No mistake in the universe. There is no mistake in the universe. This is for you. This is yours. This is your gift. It's painful, and I'm going to be with you. It's so hard. You're so angry. You're in disbelief. You feel lost. You feel confused. Whatever it is.
Oh, I felt that. No, that's beautiful, because I think that what really helped me be there for people that have lost people, or to even be able to be there for family, because, you know, natural thing is to go into the kind of not really talk about it phase, but it's really important to talk about that and allow someone to actually grieve and let them know like the feelings you feel are important and they're valid, and scream if you need to, like let it out. Do not let it stay in.
No. Yeah.
No, I never heard anybody say it so beautiful. So you definitely share, that was so beautiful. Like I definitely are going to be helping, because some of my family, like we all lost the same people. So I think it's going to be very beneficial for me to have this knowledge to be able to talk to them and be there for them even more.
Yeah, to really dive with them and, you know, allow them to dive with you into all the layers of the human experience.
Yeah.
It's really difficult, you know, it's not our nature. Our nature is not to be uncaged in those bodies. Our nature is not to be, you know, in this world of duality, of, you know, pain and, you know, miseries. And so we don't belong here. And at the same time, being here is very, very painful, very difficult, very challenging. If I look back at my life, honestly, require honesty. Then, it was mostly challenges, difficulties, pain. Like I was saying earlier, this body has so much potential for pain. Let's say if I take a square millimeter here. So how much pleasure can I get from that square millimeter? Okay, I can rub it this way. There's some pleasure. But here, the potential for pain is only almost unlimited. I could be burned. I I could be stabbed. The pain that I could receive from that little point on my body is unlimited, while the amount of pleasure I can receive from that same point is extremely limited. So this is the material existence as long as we're in this material body. It's unlimited amount of suffering and very limited amount of pleasure. While our nature, the spiritual nature, is unlimited amount of pleasure and no pain. Because our nature is Sat, Chit, Ananda, according to the Veda. Sat means eternal, Chit means full of knowledge. We have knowledge within our heart. And Ananda means blissful. We are naturally blissful. That's our birthright, to be blissful.
I love that. I love it. And you share a lot about the Vedas, the Vedas. Okay. Do you want to share with the audience kind of like what are some of those that could be beneficial for them? I know all of them are beneficial because I studied them. What is something you feel like?
Yeah, all of them are beneficial, but not all of them have the same goal. You know, like I said, there is in the Veda, there is knowledge of military art. Not that interesting. And so the Veda, it's said in the Bhagavad Gita. I have a Bhagavad Gita here.
Oh yeah, talk about Bhagavad.
Yeah, I'm a student of Bhagavad Gita for 34 years.
Yeah, I actually read it.
Yeah,
yeah.
So I have read it. I read it again and again and again, and I read it probably, I don't know, 12 times cover to cover. And a few days ago, I read all the verses cover to cover. But there is a verse in the 15th chapter, which is the yoga of the Supreme Person, is the 15th chapter. And the 15th verse, it said, I am seated in everyone's heart. So God is in our heart.
Yeah.
And he said, and from me come remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. And there's, by all the Vedas, I am to be known. Indeed, I am the compiler of Vedanta, and I am the knower of the Veda. So the essence of the Veda is to know God. And everything in a Veda, there is organization of society. And the society is created on every level. Everything, the goal of society is to go back to Godhead, to go back to our spiritual, original, constitutional position. So, unfortunately, the Western society have lost a sense of goal. Like, if I was to ask anyone, like, what's the goal of the government? What's their purpose? What are they supposed to do? Where are they guiding humanity? I don't think there is much a response to that. Oh, to have more TVs? No? To have more power to buy all what Chinese people are making in their concentration camp? You know, it's just, if we look at it, it's not very attractive.
No.
So, and that's it. The beginning of spiritual life and the beginning of Vedanta Sutra. Vedanta Sutra is the sutras. Sutra is short mantras. So the Vedanta Sutra, the first aphorism of the Vedanta Sutra, do you know what it is?
What is it?
It's a Atato Brahma Vigyasa. It's a, now that we have attained the human form of life, now is the time to inquire. So spiritual life and even human life start with inquiry. What are those inquiries? Inquiry about, who am I? Because right now I'm Malini Devidasi. But will I be Malini Devidasi in 60 years from now? Was I Malini Devidasi 70 years ago? or 100 years ago? So who am I if I wasn't? Who am I? Am I that 5-year-old body that or 10-year-old body that I used to be? No, not one cell in my body have anything to do with that 5-year-old body. So who am I if I'm not this body? So Vedanta Sutra push us to inquire, who am I? What is the purpose of human life? Is it to try to enjoy and mostly be frustrated because we cannot enjoy with this material body, and then dwindle and experience old age and be so frustrated in old age because I cannot enjoy anymore and die? You know that in the difference between spiritual society and material society is very seen in old age. In spiritual society, old people are assets. They are the wise woman, the wise man, they are assets because they can guide the entire society. In a materialist society, old people are burden, something to hide away in houses, something to not see in the street, something to be burdened by because it costs so much money. That's one difference. But there is way more, but that's one that's obvious. A difference between a really, truly spiritual society. And also within a spiritual society, death become a motivator. What is the duty of someone who is about to die? A few days ago, I made a video and I was speaking about, imagine that I give you a baby, okay? Yeah. I give you a baby and you don't know anything about that child. You don't know who the parents are. You don't know, the economic situation in which the baby is born. You don't know the culture. You don't know anything with the baby. There is only one thing that you can know for certain about this baby. You know what it is? Only one thing that you can know for certain.
This baby, I guess the one thing you can know is that, I guess that is worthy.
The baby is worthy, of course, of existence. Yeah. And when it comes to what will happen to that baby, we don't know anything. Maybe that baby will be rich or not rich. Maybe he will be capable or not capable. Maybe he's going to be successful or not successful, famous or not famous. It's going to be beautiful or not. Sometimes people babies are very beautiful, but when they grow up, they are not very attractive, or vice versa. Some babies are really ugly, but they grow up, they are very attractive. So we don't know anything that's going to happen to that baby with certainty. But there is one thing we know with certainty: that baby is going to die. For sure. Death is certain. The death rate is 100%, no doubt. So if that's one thing we know for certain, for sure, seeing any baby, any person, why is it that it's not in the forefront of our life? Why is it that event that is sure to happen is not part of our life and of what is the responsibility? What is the duty of someone who is about to die? And the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is considered the cream of the Veda, starts with that. It's a book, or it's really a series of books. For me to go over it, and I read every day, it takes about 2.5 years to read through the Srimad Bhagavatam. And I have to read it again and again. And that's the point. The whole Srimad Bhagavatam, the scene is set by a king who is cursed to die in 7 days. And so he goes sit in meditation on the bank of the Ganges River. And he sits in meditation with desiring to understand. And at that time, sages from all over the universe, because sages, they have a second sense, they all gathered from the Himalayan mountain. They come from the east, the west, from everywhere. They come all around the sage, around the king, all those sages, and they start sitting. And then there is a young man, like we see, it has nothing to do. A young man that came all naked, is all naked. And when he arrives, all the sages bow before him, because they know he's going to be the speaker of the Bhagavatam. And when he arrives, the king asked him one question. He said, please, sage, instruct me about what is the duty of someone who is about to die. And we are all about to die. We don't know. We don't know if we are going to die today, tomorrow, in 10 years, maybe 30. We don't know. But what we know is we are going to die. So we may as well inquire. So that's the essence of the Veda, is to know, to help us first coming to a place of inquiry. Human life starts with inquiry, because before that, it's animal life. Animal life is described by eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. And as long as our life is centered around those 4 occupations, then we are like animals. Maybe instead of eating from the ground, we eat in beautiful plates or in a fancy restaurant, but the activity is the same. You know, maybe instead of having sex in the street or in the woods, we have sex in a penthouse or whatever. And instead of sleeping on the ground, we sleep in a beautiful bed and bedroom and houses. But activity, it's basically sophisticated animal life. As long as our aim at those 4 activities, it's just sophisticated. And what differentiates animal life from human life is that ability to inquire, that ability to be philosophical, that ability to really be with those questions. What is the purpose of my life? Why am I born? What is here? What am I here to learn? What is that school that I'm thrown into? And at that school, everything is positive. It's just our vision that makes us see the duality of good and bad.
So with the inquiry, that was powerful, by the way. With the inquiry and being able to do that, do you think that is why we suffer so much? And I'm just speaking, when I say we, I'm speaking majority of the collective. Do you think that is why we suffer, is because we don't know why we're here?
We suffer because we don't know what we are here. And the suffering, the happiness and distress, they are coming as a result of our past activities too. Because some people suffer a lot, whilst the other people don't suffer. And a lot of people turn away from God because of a lack of understanding of that. You know, there is that saying like, how come, you know, like bad things happen to good people? Not understanding that we are the creator of our suffering. And we can, you know, that's the law of karma. You know, there is a verse from the Bhagavad Gita. You want a verse from it?
Yeah.
I like to quote Bhagavad Gita because this is one of my favorite verses. It's from the 13th chapter.
So people are suffering from their own karma, basically.
Yeah, happiness and distress. In the second chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, I said, Matras Parsas to Konteya. He said, like happiness and distress come and go like winter and summer season. One should just learn to tolerate them. Because we cannot control. Like I remember as a young woman, a young person, before I made my vows, I remember being in high school and thinking, Friday night is a night. Friday night, something is going to happen. I will meet something extraordinary or someone extraordinary and something special will happen, or maybe I will take something, something is going to be. And so Friday night was a lot of anticipation, and then Friday night will come and then it will go and then nothing will have happened. But then I will wake up in the morning on Saturday and think, tonight is the night, isn't it? Tonight, something is going to happen. I'm going to meet that person. I'm going to have that experience. Something extraordinary, and I will be so happy and blissful ever after, like that, like Walt Disney's movies. And then Saturday night will come and it will go. And maybe I will have some satisfaction, maybe a lot of frustration, maybe a lot of disappointment. And that's life, like Friday night and Saturday night, because happiness and distress, they come on their own accord. We don't call for distress. Don't call for distress. Oh, today I want to be miserable. Oh, today I want to break my leg. Isn't it? We don't call for distress. But we are convinced that we can call for happiness, and it doesn't work. Because happiness and distress, they come and go like winter and summer season, and we just need to tolerate them. So my verse. Go for the verse because he responds so nicely to your question. So it's from the chapter called Nature, the Enjoyer, and Consciousness. It's the 13th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. And he said, nature is said to be the cause of all material activities and effect, whereas the living entity, that's us, is the cause of the various sufferings and enjoyment in this world. So we don't cause our enjoyment by our activities, but we are the cause of our enjoyment. And we are also the cause of our happiness. Yes? Because there is karma here. Let's say that if there was no, karma means action and reaction. Yeah? If tonight I decide I'm going to eat a gallon of ice cream, for example, tomorrow I will have a bellyache. Tomorrow I will get up, I will have a headache, a bellyache. I will feel fuzzy all day. So it's, it's not fair. It's not fair that I should feel the bellyache. It's not fair I should have a headache. Well, you ate a gallon of ice cream last night.
And it all just comes back to us trying to do things and control the outcome and not really get the repercussions.
Not really. We try to control. We are in illusion of control because we don't have real control, but we are in illusion. Like, I can control the outcome. I can create. But happiness come. So many times. We may feel happy. Like I feel happy. I don't know why. No reason. And of course, when we do elevate ourselves, because there is a spiritual energy, we are spiritual by nature. So when we tap into that natural part of us, then that eternally blissful state is available to us, even in this lifetime. We don't need to wait until the end of life to experience our spiritual nature.
What would you say to someone that wants to start experiencing, a more blissful life and really just being more spiritual? Like, what would you tell them to get started?
Okay, like someone who is like feeling like, okay, I'm tired of material life. I really want to know who I am at the core. I really want to know what's that life about. And I know there is a different dimension and I want to tap into that. Yes. The first thing I will do is to be with them, to be with them and listen. Because our nature is to be knowledge. So we have the knowledge inside. So I will trust their process. And I will trust that they have the response to their question within themselves. So that's the first thing I will do. I will listen very, very carefully. And often when I'm in that place of being with someone, then I hear that knowledge. I hear that deep knowledge that they didn't even know was there. But because of the sacred space that we create, then they tap into it. Yeah, I know I don't belong here. I know
Yeah.
I always had that feeling from the time I was a child.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I will probably be with them. Yes, that's true. We don't belong here. It's like being in the material world is like a fish being out of water. This is not where we belong. The fish is yearning for the ocean, and we are yearning for the spiritual consciousness, the spiritual world. We are yearning for that eternal relationship of love with God, and we can experience it in this lifetime. And I will ask them, okay, well, what's the process? What's the process? You know, I can give process. I have process that works, but also other people may have their own process. Prayers. There is, in the Veda, it describes there is 9 processes of devotional service to uncover. And the 2 first is hearing and chanting. So one process that goes parallel is a process of cleansing the heart, because our heart, we are conditioned soul, we are conditioned by the material atmosphere. And even it's not natural to be in the material atmosphere, we are conditioned and we identified with it. So one of the first steps to make progress in spiritual life is to start the purification process. And Cheto Darpanam Marjanam Mahabhavanam Davagni Nirvapanam Shreya Karyavat Chandrika Vyatanam Vidyavadu Jivanam Ananda Buddhi Vardanam Patitanam Punamita Swadanam Savatmas Napanam Param Vijayati Shri Krishna Sankirtanam. So this verse said that by chanting the name of the Lord, in the Bible, the name of the Lord is glorified a lot. In the Quran, there is a lot of Muslim sect. That's all they do all day. They chant the name of Allah. And of course, in the Veda, we get a lot of names: Krishna, Govinda, and Krishna, Govinda, Keshava, and Rama. So many names in the Veda, and in the Bible, Adonai, Elohim, Yeshua. There's so many names. So God has many names. Nam Nama Kauda, Nija Shava Shakti. We have thousands of names, and all his names are spiritual. They are transcendental in themselves. So if we want to tap into our transcendence, we need to connect with transcendence, the spiritual world. And the easiest ways to do that is by connecting with God, because it's the source of this material world. Aham sarvasya bhavavu bhata bhavatati. It's like the first verse in the 10th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. I say, I am the source of the material and spiritual world. So we want to connect with that source. And the best way to connect with that source is to chant the name of God. And by chanting the name of God, we connect with God. But there is also Chetonarpana. There is, by chanting the name of God, our hearts become purified from all the dust, because we accumulate dust in our mind and in our heart. Even, like our mind is so conditioned and so contaminated. I see like my life is free of cinema or movies. I'm a monk, so I'm not in a world. So, but let's say I go somewhere and I see something that's mundane and materialistic, or, romance. And I can see that my mind, the next day when I do my meditation, this thing is going to come to my mind. It's not, it's like our mind is like a sponge. It's absorbed and it gives us back everything. So, like be conscious what we are exposing ourselves to. And through the process of praising the Lord, hallelujah, chanting the name of God, whatever name we choose. If we don't have a name, you can ask me. I will give you names of God and mantras to chant that are very, very, very powerful. And then we get that cleansing effect of all the dirt accumulated for years. And also inside our heart, we have that fire burning, fires that want to control, fires that want to achieve, fires that want to that burn us to the ground. And that fire is of perpetual birth and death and birth and death. And to chanting the name of the Lord we extinguish that fire little by little, and then we are able to test transcendence and to really bring the cooling of the moon inside our hearts. So that's, you know, like if I was to meet someone, I will meet them where they're at. Where they're at, maybe they like praying. So I'll say, increase your prayer. And I can give you some prayer if you want. And I will say, okay, well, like worshiping, going to the mosque, going to the church, going to the temple. Create a sanctuary in nature.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you like to share that you feel like could be helpful for my listeners? You have shared so much knowledge. Like, I just am enjoying this experience with you. Is there anything else that you feel like you want to leave us with? And I want to see, can we chant something at the end?
Yeah.
Okay.
Would you like to chant a mantra?
Yeah, we can chant mantra.
There is, in the Vedas, there's many, many mantras, and all of them are powerful. Most of them start with the syllable Om.
Oh, okay.
And most of those mantras, though, they are very, very specific, and to derive the benefit from those mantras and perfect those mantras, you need a specific situation, like sit on the kusha grass. You need to face east. You need to be in a quiet place. You need to be in nature. You know, there is all those conditions. And without those conditions, those mantras have, you know, like are weakened. And it's very, very difficult to get benefit. However, in the Vedas, there is one mantra that's called the universal mantra, that's called the Maha mantra, the great mantra for deliverance. And that mantra is said to be the song of the soul. And that's a mantra I sing and I chant 2 or 3 hours a day, every single day. I play harmonium, you know, I play kirtan, and that's something I do every day. I play kirtan on my harmonium, but I also chant on beats. My beats are not here. Anyway, I chant on beats, you know, like in the Catholic Church, there is a rosary. So I have a mala. It's called mala, it's beats. And I chant the Maha mantra. And the Maha mantra is made of 3 words. The one word is Hare, and Hare means the feminine aspect of God. In Sanskrit,
how you say
Sanskrit, Hare.
Hare.
Yes.
How you spell it?
I'm going to chat.
Okay.
Hare.
Okay, Hare. Okay.
And so Hare, it's energy of God. Everything is the energy of God, and it's a feminine aspect of God. So we are calling on the feminine aspect of God, the energy of God to come upon us. And the second word is Krishna. Krishna. Or maybe K-R-I-S.
Yeah.
Like that.
I know Krishna. That's from
Krishna. Okay. So Krishna, do you know what Krishna means? Krishna means the all attractive one. You know, it's Sanskrit. Like, you know, I'm always amused because people, you know, like in Christianity, it seems in America more than anywhere else in the world, there is a sense that Christ was American or something like that. But Christ spoke Hebrew and he comes from Palestine. So some people say, why you're following a religion? I don't follow a religion, but that's their interpretation that I'm following a religion. But what are you following a religion coming from India? And I want to say, why are you following a religion that comes from Palestine? And you know that in the language, in the Hebrew language, there is no J. There is no J sound. So for sure, that person, that's the Savior. And I'm very, very close to Lord, you know, Christ. His name was not Jesus. 100%, because the letter J doesn't exist in the Hebrew language.
Oh, wow.
So his name is Joshua. Yeshua?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, his name is Yeshua. Jesus doesn't exist. Nobody can go to any village or any place. It doesn't exist in a language. So it's unfortunate, and I think it's really important to ask ourselves those questions.
Mm.
And myself, I'm a way better Christian since I started my study of the Veda. My love for Christ, my surrender to Christ, my admiration for Christ, my wanting to follow in his footsteps have increased 1,000 times since studying the Bhagavad Gita.
Wow.
So Krishna, Christos, Krishna is the same root, because really Hebrew and Greek and Latin, they come from Sanskrit. So Krishna means the most attractive one. The attraction, the word attraction, the traction. So, like we all are attractive, you have, I think you are very attractive in your intelligence and in your, and your smile. And we all have an attractive potency. But the one who is attractive by everyone, who have also attractive potency, is Krishna, God, Krishna. Is that a perfect name for God? The most attractive one. And then the last word of the mantra is Rama. And Rama, the word Rama means the reservoir of all pleasure. So in order to feel pleasure, we need to plug in the reservoir of all pleasure. Okay. Like if I'm thirsty, I need to plug in a reservoir of water. I can dig, I can go in the desert and dig. Sometimes I say to people, material life is like being in the desert and digging everywhere, thinking there is water. I'm making hole, and some people climb trees, and some people suck leaves. Some people, they do so many things to get water, and sometimes they get a drop. But just behind them, there is a cistern of water, and nobody goes to it.
Oh, wow.
So that's like that. If we try to find happiness to the contact of the senses with the sense object, to digging holes everywhere, to trying to control the material energy, we are going to get drops sometime. But the reservoir of all happiness, the reservoir of all pleasure is Rama. And when we chant the name of Ram, we connect with that inner happiness. So the mantra is 12 syllables, and I'm going to write it for you. Maybe you know it already, the mantra. So the mantra is Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So what I'm saying to people is, maybe you have a mantra already. Maybe you know a mantra from the Bible or the Quran. Do that. Chant it more. Spend time with the name of the Lord that you know. If you don't have name for God, then here are some names that are very powerful. And try it on. Try it on, like this mantra. I say, Nam Namakari Bauda Nijat Sharva Shakti Tatrapita Nimaita Smarene Nakala Etadvisita Vakipa Bhagavan Bhavapi Dodaivan Idrisha Iya Jani Nanuraga, means there is no rule and regulation to chant this mantra. No, all the other mantras, there is rule and regulation. So that means you can chant it. It's a universal mantra. You can chant it when you walk. You can chant it when you go shopping. I'm never frustrated if I'm in a traffic jam, because I chant. Or I'm at the post office and I wait online, I chant. There is never a lose, like time is with God. So if I have a last message to people listening, is try it on. Take it for a week. Try it on and see the effect. I don't need to tell you, the proof is in the pudding.
Yeah.
If you taste the pudding, you will know how it tastes. To reject the pudding because it looks strange, it's like English puddings that you look green and maybe it's strange. You won't never know the taste of it. So try it on, try it on. Take on this mantra. I'm going to repeat it for pronunciation. So again, Hare is a feminine energy of God, and Krishna means all attractive one, and Rama means the reservoir of all pleasure. And I chant this mantra at least 2 hours a day, usually 1 hour sitting and breathing, and another hour usually taking a walk. And I chant, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So that full chant is a prayer. Please engage me in your service. Please allow me to surrender and be an instrument of your peace.
Wow. That is beautiful. I have really enjoyed our time together. This has been amazing. I'm definitely going to be putting that in the show notes so they can have it, they can chant it, and they can come back and listen to this. Oh my God, like this has been such a gift for me. I love our time together, and I'm so grateful for you taking time out of your day to be here with me.
Thank you. Thank you. And if you want, you can give my contact information. I'm here to serve. I'm not here to take anything from anyone. I'm here to serve. I really want to make my life count by making a difference in other people's life.
Yeah, I will be putting all of Malini information in the show notes below. You can reach out to her on her social channels, and whatever contact information she have, I'm definitely going to put it down below because you do want to, like, this woman is amazing. So you do want to reach out to her and really connect. Thank you again. This really has been such a treat. Oh my God. Hope you guys have enjoyed your experience today and that you gained so much knowledge from everything that Malini has shared today. And I hope that you take that mantra and that you chant it and that you come back to this video and you say, I did it. And just let us know how it goes. Try it out for 30 days and really share about your experience. You can reach out to her. You can reach out to me. Also, share this with someone. If you feel like this has been beneficial for your life, share this episode with someone else, because remember, sharing is caring. And that's kind of how we all get better. All right, guys. Thank you for tuning in today. And I love you guys. Bye.
Namaste. Bye.
Bye.